The Canadiens blow another chance at a playoff berth.
A divot sends us to intermission early in the Music City.
And we got treated to a little bit of a playoff preview out in Edmonton.
All that and so much more on this Monday night recap edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
The horn has sounded. Hello there, hockey fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. I'm Cam Stuart, a sad Boston Bruins fan, just one of me out on the third coast.
It is late. And I'm
Very
Tyler
late.
Feldman, a lifelong Pittsburgh Penguins fan, currently loving life in Austin, Texas. And Cam, hey, let's just drop the puck. Final week of the NHL regular season. We've got a lot to get to.
The games are ratcheting up, and we're so ready for playoff hockey, but we got to get all the teams in there first, Tyler. And tonight we had one game in particular with some major playoff implications. Up at the Bell Center, Montreal Habs with another chance to clinch that postseason berth. A win gets them in there, but not tonight. It should have been that way against the Chicago Blackhawks, but a 4-3 shootout loss up until the very end. They just needed to win in any way possible. They do not get it done, but it doesn't come without some controversy, and the Montreal fans are not happy about it. Let's go to our Locked On Canadiens expert, Ian Blaver, and then hear from the Blackhawks side of things.
Well, the Canadiens are not making it easy. They pick up yet another point on Monday night against the Chicago Blackhawks, a game they led 2-0 going into the, well, I guess not even out of the first period. They were up 2-0 off of the incredible start from one Ivan Demidov. He was incredible, a goal and an assist in his first period. Then the Canadiens just did what they've done over the last little while, which is completely collapse. They were making the second worst team in the National Hockey League look like they were an all-star team in just a fashion that any team trying to make the playoffs cannot afford to do. Another frustrating night for the power play. Yes, they tied the game late, but they had ample opportunity to put the game out of reach early, and they just kept failing to do so. This game ends in a bit of controversy, though. They end in the shootout. Frank Nazar goes in first for Chicago, and he puts the puck in the net. Nobody sees it. And instead of the referees getting together and trying to figure out what happened, instead they let Patrick Laine shoot for the Canadiens. He does not score. And then they decide, actually, Frank Nazar just scored, which I don't think you're allowed to do. I'm not saying, don't count the Nazar goal. What I'm saying is you have to get that right in the moment. To allow the Canadiens to go in and shoot and then retroactively add a goal to the Blackhawks is entirely Bush League behavior from the National Hockey League, and the Canadiens should have a word with the league after that sort of thing.
It is a weird ending to this thing. Only one goal in the shootout, Tyler, and it was one that wasn't a goal at first. You get a whole nother shot, and to be honest with you, I can't believe they missed it in real time the way those refs are positioned in a shootout.
Saying it's Bush League is a little extreme in my eyes, but certainly with today's modern technology, that puck was clearly in the net. I don't know how you missed that, and I don't know how the league misses it either. My biggest concern or problem with the whole situation is it changes the mindset of the shooter if you're up 1-0 versus still even across the board. That's my only concern. The reality is, though, the Canadiens, you blew it. You had another chance. You couldn't get it done on your home ice, up 2 goals. That's on you. And that's unfortunate because going into this game, there were a lot of big storylines. Head coach Martin St. Louis, who knows what it takes to win come this time of year, said it was the biggest game of the year for his team. And unfortunately, they didn't step up to the plate. They didn't hit the ice strong enough throughout the full 60 minutes plus, and they could not pull out the victory. They failed to clinch for the 3rd straight game.
And really, the story from Montreal going into this one, right, is Ivan Demidov.
Yeah.
We've been on Demidov watch the last week here, tracking flights and following all this. And for Martin St. Louis to say this is the biggest game of the year, and that's the only guy that really showed up for them. He has the great assist on the first point, basically the first shift, scores his first goal a little bit later in the first. He's creative all night, kind of loses some steam at the end, and Montreal just didn't have the jump in this one.
Which is hard to believe because that first period, thanks to Demidov, was unbelievable. The energy, the excitement across the league was palpable after seeing the 19-year-old from Russia skate that well, play that well. I mean, that's what we all expected when the Canadiens drafted him with that 5th overall pick in 2024. He did not disappoint, but now for the fans that were left stunned at the Bell Center tonight, they're hoping that the Canadiens do not disappoint them and fail to miss the playoffs for a 4th consecutive season.
Well, look, it was a nice night for Jack Bushman of Locked On Blackhawks, and he has it from the non-controversial winning side.
It was the Ivan Demidov show early at the Bell Center, but the Blackhawks storm back to win 4-3 in a shootout and play spoiler by preventing the Canadiens from clinching the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. I'm Jack Bushman from Locked On Blackhawks. It was all Ivan Demidov in the opening 20 minutes as the 2024 5th overall pick tallied a goal and an assist in his NHL debut to put the Canadiens ahead 2-0, but the Blackhawks rallied back with Frank Nazar at the helm, registering his 3rd multi-point outing in his last 6 games, also registering the shootout winner with a goal and an assist as well. Lucas Reichel with a huge tally in the 3rd period for his 8th goal of the year, and then love to see Arvid Soderblom perform splendidly in his final start of the season. I'll talk more about the Blackhawks playing spoiler and wrapping up the regular season tomorrow in Ottawa on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Blackhawks.
Canadiens in their storied history have never missed the playoffs 4 straight seasons. That's what's on the line in game 82. Tyler, they win and they're in, but we have said that before. I don't think there's going to be any fingernails left in the province of Quebec.
Back on their home ice Wednesday against Carolina. Now, the good news is for the Canadiens, the Habs, you'd like to think that the Canes will be resting a lot of their top guys, having already clinched that playoff spot. So I think that leans in favor of the Habs. But then again, the Blackhawks, bottom 3 team in the West, one of the worst teams in the league this season. You can't get it done. You'll get a 4th straight try to get it done. And if not, if the Blue Jackets win their final 2 games in regulation, it's Columbus skipping Montreal for that final wild card spot.
And what a story that would be.
That would be nuts.
Goodness. Last time Montreal was in the playoffs, 2021, they make it all the way to the Stanley Cup final. The team representing the West, like Montreal did, the year before in the Stanley Cup final, the Dallas Stars are on a slide right now. They go up to Detroit. Look, they're locked into their position, but you also need some momentum going into the playoffs, right? Not so much the case for Dallas. It's loss number 6 in a row. They were winning for a good portion of this game, but they fall apart in the 3rd period. 3 unanswered goals by Detroit. And there's some silver lining at the end of the season for our Locked On Red Wings host.
The Detroit Red Wings might not be heading towards the playoffs, but at least they sent their fans home happy during their home finale, beating the Dallas Stars 6-4 at Little Caesars Arena. It was kind of an individual accolades night, as that's all you really have to root for anymore once your team's knocked out of contention. Lucas Raymond hit 50 assists on the season, the first time he's ever done that, as well as growing his career-high point totals, which now sits at 78 after a 3-point night. Moritz Cider also had a 3-point night, getting him to 43 points on the season, his 2nd highest career point total since he hit 50 his rookie season. So it was a night full of fun with all the goals being scored, rooting for individual players to hit those. Honestly, I thought the Red Wings were the better team in this hockey game for whatever that's worth at this point. Battled back, scored 4 in the 3rd period. And it was fun. And at that point, that's all you can say. When your team's knocked out of contention, it was fun, and you enjoy it when it happens. Stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings.
Hey, I'm glad they can get some fun out of it.
Hey,
By the way,
that has to sting if you're a Stars fan. Oh, it was fun. It was fun for you guys, right? Okay.
We got to go home happy. We got to cheer. We got to hear the goal horn a few times. And this is this is a team in Dallas that I had as my Stanley Cup pick before the year. So did Eddie Garcia.
How do you feel right now?
I felt bad when Heiskanen got hurt. I felt good again. I feel really not good right now. And they get Colorado in the first round, Tyler. How about that for entertainment factor?
It'll be fun because the Stars knocked the Avs out in the second round last year.
Mm-hmm.
Third season for Peter DeBoer in charge of this Dallas Stars team. First time a Stars team under his direction has lost 6 straight. The Stars have been outshot in 13 straight games, which is just nuts. And they entered this game tonight against the Red Wings having won 8 straight against Detroit. So things just aren't going the Stars' way right now. And at one point last week, I was like, maybe they'll figure it out. It's just a little bit of a slump come playoff time. Now I'm wondering if this may trickle into the postseason and they have problems big time getting past Colorado in that first round.
Things are going the wrong way at the wrong time for the Dallas Stars. And you could say the same thing about the team they faced in the Western Conference Finals last year, the Edmonton Oilers. Desperate, need a win at home against the Kings to hold on to any sliver of hope for home ice in that first round series. We will give you that playoff round 1 dress rehearsal coming up next on Locked On NHL Game Night.
Today's episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Isn't that nuts? It is. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and, quote, better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. As we welcome you back to Locked On NHL Game Night. And Cam, I did want to mention before we cut to break, we were so tough on the Stars there. There was a little good news. Jamie Benn scored his 400th career NHL goal. It was on a nice move in the first period. That's significant. That is good news for the Dallas Stars. I just think you need Ottinger to play a little bit better in net, and you've got to figure things out and figure out how to win games and get back on track, because there's teams like the Kings and Oilers on that western side of the bracket that you may have to face if you figure things out.
Yeah, wouldn't you know? Kings Oilers, first round. Stop me if you've heard this one before.
I'll stop you right there because I have.
And it's been the Oilers. It's been the Oilers 3 years in a row. In fact, the Kings have not won a playoff series since winning the Cup all the way back in 2014. And the one thing they haven't had is home ice. And here they are, the best home ice team in the NHL this year. One more win against those Edmonton Oilers gets them the home ice. And boy, Tyler, they did not leave any doubt in this one. I mean, from the jump. 5-0. They blank Edmonton. They clinch home ice in that first round series, which starts this weekend. And it left for one very, very happy Eddie Garcia, our local expert here on Locked On NHL Game Night, and also the host of Locked On LA Kings.
The LA Kings will start the playoffs at home. I'm Eddie Garcia, host of Locked On LA Kings. The Kings easily handled the Oilers B squad, which didn't have stars Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl, among others. 5-0 the final in Edmonton with the win. The Kings will have something they have not had in their 3 previous playoff matchups against the Oilers. Home ice advantage, which could be significant as the Kings were 32-5-4 at home for the best home ice winning percentage in the NHL this season. The game was marred by a cheap shot by Oilers defenseman Darnell Nurse, who took Kings young star Quentin Byfield to the ice in a headlock and then cross-checked him in the back of the head while Byfield was laying face down on the ice. Nurse was given a 5-minute major into game misconduct. Byfield left and didn't return. We'll now see what the NHL does about this, but if Byfield is hurt and misses any playoff action, it would be a major loss for the Kings, as he's been a key contributor down the stretch. Byfield had his career-high 23rd goal before the incident. Kevin Fiala added his career-high 35th goal, and goalie Darcy Kemper and David Riddick, who came on in the third to make sure nothing happened to Kemper, get the combined shutout. But no doubt this rivalry now has gotten even more bad blood with this latest incident.
LA Kings sound like a classic danger team with some of the names he's mentioned in there. Not household names. They're great at home. They're very good on the special teams. And here they are. They got home ice against maybe the most talented team in the entire league. But Eddie talks about that incident in this one. And of course, these two teams don't like each other. They play every year in the playoffs. Warren Fogel's got loyalties to both sides at some point in his career. And it's Darnell Nurse and Quentin Byfield. Byfield was mixing it up in this game. He's on the ice. Nurse cross-checks him. He gets the 5-minute game misconduct. Tyler's gotten plenty of those in his career. You've seen the play. Is this one of those that carries over into next week, or is this just a one-off?
I don't think so. I think this is just a one-off. It was a physical hockey play that certainly warranted a 5-minute major and game misconduct. I actually think you could argue that it did not warrant a game misconduct. It certainly warranted a 5-minute major. Having said that, on first look at the play, that's a hockey play. That's a tough play around the net. You take a look at the replay.
Just after the whistle.
After the whistle, just a couple guys, tussling a little bit next to the net.
Doesn't slam the head on the ice.
But then you look at the replay, you look at the different angles closer up, and it was certainly a cross check, which is why it warranted the 5-minute major. But I think Quentin Byfield's going to be just fine. And I think that looking at that play without overreacting, certainly a quote-unquote dirty hockey play, but not nearly one of the dirtiest hockey plays I've ever seen. So it doesn't reach that level for me, maybe a 5 out of 10 on the dirty scale, the Tyler Feldman dirty scale. Kind of like my laundry basket's a 10 out of 10 right now. Got to get some stuff in the washer. But again, a tough hockey play. These are two teams that don't like each other. They're going to be seeing each other very soon, yet again, for the 4th consecutive season. The Oilers need to get healthy, because you take this whole situation aside, that's not even the biggest problem for Edmonton right now. It's the fact that the Kings are really playing great hockey, and they've got a ton of talented goal scorers. 4 of the guys who scored tonight all have over 20 goals this season. I mean, that is some really consistent production across multiple lines. So for me, the Kings should be favored in that series, no doubt, unless the Oilers figure out how to get healthy.
And it is. I mean, they are really backed up against it. Some of it precautionary, like with Draisaitl and McDavid, but those guys are not nearly 100%. And some guys are out. Matthias Ekholm's out that first series. It's going to be a really tough road. It's the first time in the NHL since 1987 that a team has played 4 straight playoff series against the same team. That was Bruins Canadiens back in the day. Edmonton's matchup last year in the Stanley Cup final, Florida Panthers. Edmonton did not play at all tonight. Florida played about half a game against the New York Rangers. They're up 3-1. They lose 5-3, and a team that's kind of sputtering right now, limping into the playoffs. Another one that needs to get healthy, the Florida Panthers. Armando Velez, Locked On Panthers. What happened, man?
The hopes for home ice are officially over. What is up, guys? Armando Velez here from the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, here to quickly break down the Panthers' 5-3 loss against the New York Rangers in home game number 41 at Emirates Bank Arena. And the Panthers were up as much as 3-1 with less than 5 minutes left in the second period, and then 2 unanswered goals in a span of 1 minute and 38 seconds, had the Panthers going into the third period tied, and then giving up a shorthanded goal to Vincent Trocheck, had the Panthers falling from behind and having a hard time getting through the neutral zone when it looked like that the Panthers were well in control of the game in the second period before those 2 goals. And then Brodzinski giving the Rangers a 5-3 lead. And good news for the Panthers, Sam Reinhart got 2 goals on the night. Carter Verhaeghe is now on a 3-game goal streak, but the Panthers now have to start on the road. We're going to break all this down on tomorrow's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, your team every day.
So Panthers will go on the road in the first round of the postseason, of course, staying in the state, another familiar matchup, the Panthers and the Lightning. But the Cats, man, they have really been struggling since that Matthew Tkachuk injury to kind of keep pace for that second spot, not spiraling out of control. But Tampa has really seized that from them the last month and a half.
When you talk Tampa, when you talk Florida, these are 2 teams that have played a ton of extra games in the playoffs the last handful of seasons. So I think at a certain point, all these injuries, it's catching up to them, because that's a lot of hockey to play across some additional international tournaments as well. This game was wild though, Cam, because Florida was in control. those 2 Reinhart goals, I felt like the Panthers had command of this entire game. They had come in having won 3 straight. They had a chance to even up with the Lightning in the standings and possibly get that home ice advantage. So they were playing for something. And in their last 5 against the Rangers, they were 4-0-1. So the way they started this game made sense. The way they finished, I was sitting back, and if I put my Rangers fan hat on, which I would never do, but if I was a Rangers fan, I would be asking myself, where the heck was this team the last 3 weeks? Because that's the way that this New York Rangers team played tonight. That goal from Vince Trocheck, shorthanded, the assist from JT Miller, the 2 Pittsburgh kids linking up for that go-ahead goal in the third, and then Brzezinski with that insurance goal. I liked what I saw from the Rangers, but again, way too little, way too late for New York. And now it's what's next for a team that won the President's Trophy a season ago and has now lost 9 of their last 14 games.
We were begging for some urgency from them last week when they were still in the picture. Didn't get it. A team that was feeling pretty urgent in the offseason was Nashville, and now they are so thankful that they're just 1 game away from ending this thing. But all the big moves, right? Brady Shea, Marchessault, Stamkos, we're talking Stanley Cup winners, we're talking Conn Smythe winners, and it's been just miserable. And they close out the home slate with a 7-3 loss to Utah, which has a very promising future. But there are some things to look forward to potentially for this Nashville team. I know what you're thinking, but Ann Kimmel has the answer for us.
The Nashville Predators lost tonight against the Utah Hockey Club by a score of 7-3, but there was one very bright spot for Nashville Predators fans. Hey everyone, Ann Kimmel from Locked On Predators. Tonight, the Nashville Predators had yet another NHL debut to celebrate. Defenseman Ryan Ufko joined the Predators after being recalled Monday morning. He made his NHL debut Monday night against Utah. This has been a story for the Nashville Predators this season. Veteran injuries and then a big sell-off at the trade deadline means that spots have opened up over the course of this season for young players to make their NHL debut. Ufko is the 7th player to take that hot lap before a Nashville Predators game. Again, his performance tonight overshadowed by that 7-3 loss, but still a big night for Nashville Predators fans and gives them a glimpse of some of the players they may be seeing next season.
Speaking of next season, that Utah team is going to be one to watch.
That was my biggest takeaway from this game was just, man, this Utah Hockey Club, or whatever they'll be called next season, whatever name they decide, will they stay with the hockey club? I hope they pick a name. That's
Please
an
pick
argument
a name
for another show, another episode. But man, you look at Keller, you look at Bukestad, you look at Cooley. I mean, they got some guys on this team that are really talented that just have me excited for what's to come. I know they're not going to get it done this year. It's a wash, but first season, pretty impressed.
I genuinely think Keller is one of the most underrated players in the entire league. And that's not just my BU fan hat talking. I really do think he is one of the most undervalued players in this league.
Stat of the night. 600th NHL game for Keller. He now has 87 points, which is a new career high. I mean, he's a top 5 NHL assist guy in the league. That's the kind of player you want, kind of commanding an offense for a younger squad that I see gives that team, that city, hope for, I think, playoffs next season for this Utah team.
And speaking of some young talent, that's what they are banking on in San Jose. They had a thriller out on the West Coast against Vancouver. We will get that for you. And he said, what? I hope I did that right. Coming up next on Locked On NHL Game Night. But first, today's show is also brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. And with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and so much more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. They give businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. And if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who can deliver incredible results. So visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Rolling right along, Locked On NHL Game Night. I'm Cam Stewart, Tyler Feldman here. We got one more game to go over, okay? San Jose and Vancouver. Plenty of talent on the ice for two teams not playing in the postseason. Macklin Celebrini looked like he was going to have the only goal in this one for a long time, but the Canucks get two unanswered to win this one in overtime. Before I get to the record set or the record tied on the Vancouver side, Calder Trophy. We were talking up Lane Hudson quite a bit last week, Tyler. Are you giving Macklin Celebrini a chance again?
I think he's giving himself a chance.
That's a good way to put
I
it.
think Lane has it locked up. I definitely think he's the front runner up in Montreal, but I really like Celebrini's game. Obviously, there's a reason why he was the number 1 overall pick by the Sharks. They'll have another top pick in the upcoming NHL draft, but 25 goals. Rookie season. He has carried this young Sharks team, not necessarily on his back, but he and the other young guys on this squad have shown, similarly to Utah in different ways, that this is another team that they're not going to be bottom sellers for much longer. I think this is a Sharks team too. You look at Alexander Georgiev in net tonight. He was fantastic, gave San Jose a chance, 35 saves on 37 shots. Vancouver was all over the ice tonight. Canucks only had 16 shots on net. Or the Sharks only had 16 shots on net. So it was a very dominant performance for Vancouver, and it was Georgiev who kept the Sharks in it.
Yeah, and Vancouver does turn around. They get the win in overtime.
Crazy DeBrusk. OT winner.
Jake DeBrusk. This is a beauty of a goal. 28th on the season, career high. That's a tough one for this Bruins fan to say out loud. And Quinn Hughes gets the assist. And how about this? Ties him for the all-time points record amongst Canucks defensemen, 409 with Alex Edler. I think, Tyler, Quinn Hughes is going to break that. What do you think?
Well, I'm pretty certain he will. And if not, I'm sure John Butchergross projected that he would break it in this year, just like he did with Alex Ovechkin all those years back. Hey, we did tease top of the show, Cam. We forgot to mention it for the Nashville game, that divot in the ice, that little weird situation.
Oh, yes. That was so weird, man.
And I feel like we have to talk about it at least a little bit because we've both watched so much hockey over the years. I've really never seen something like that where Forsberg's skate just kind of divots in right in front of the crease, and the ice crew, the officials, they decide to, with less than 4 minutes to go in the second period, just say, you know what, after a little bit of time, let's just figure this out during the intermission. We'll play the rest of the second period
after the intermission.
As the start of the third period, and then we'll go right into the third period. That was a unique kind of, that's hockey situation here on this wild night in the NHL.
I have never seen that. It was so weird. So yeah, with 3:44 left in the period, they just cut it short. They basically said, we can't fix it without the Zamboni. We need to put more. And I'm wondering, like, what if that happens with 17 minutes left? Like, do we just wait it out? Like, I don't know, man. But it was just a weird, with the building like a quarter full, you've got this once in a lifetime kind of thing of like, we have to end this period early. It was very odd. When I was flipping between games, it's a weird feeling of like, why are they in an intermission report? There's 4 minutes left.
It was odd, but oddly handled really well.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel like it was out of place. I was like, okay, yeah, we'll do intermission a little bit early, and then we'll get the rest of the period done after it's fixed.
And it worked out. It worked out. Like a charm. Anyway, we've got to close this thing out, Tyler. But before we go, we have got the segment that makes you get through your Monday and into your Tuesday morning.
He said, what?
What do you got for us?
Well, we talked about Lane Hudson. Quinn Hudson made his NHL debut for the Edmonton Oilers tonight, just days after leading your Boston University Terriers to the Frozen Four and a subsequent 6-2 loss to Western Michigan in the national championship. But a couple days later, he's on a plane. He makes it to Edmonton, and he's playing his first ever NHL game at 23 years old. He's the older brother of Lane, and of course, there's another Hudson out there as well. But his quote, he said, quote, "Obviously, I'm still thinking about it." He's talking about the Frozen Four, the loss of the championship game. "It sucks to lose, making it that far the season and coming up short. So I guess this is just a good way to forget about it," he said of the Frozen Four final. But it's definitely still there in the back of my head. So it's crazy. It's almost like a WNBA experience where you get done with March Madness and then the WNBA draft happening tonight, and you're right back into it. There's no break. And for Quinn, he's not eligible to play in the postseason for the Oilers, but these last two games for the Oilers, he'll get to showcase a little bit of what he's got, which is pretty cool. And I thought that quote was funny because obviously if you make it to the Frozen Four national championship and you lose, kind of a bummer. But
yeah.
Silver lining, you're now in the NHL. Boom.
That's a good way to get over it. Cole's still got to be back there in Boston and have to go to class and live through it. But Quinn just, all right, go across the continent, play some big time games. Go. I mean, obviously didn't happen tonight, but go play with Connor McDavid. Go have fun. It is an interesting way to kind of end your hockey season this year. And Edmonton, I know it's only for 2 games and we just played one of them, but they need bodies, man. They really do. And I don't know how to close this thing. I don't know if I like them in that first round.
That's a tough one. I don't
because a 60% McDavid is better than a lot of people, and Draisaitl too.
Yeah. I'm concerned about the Edmonton Oilers.
I'm picking the Kings.
Okay. I'm Eddie. You're on Eddie's team now. Eddie is your line mate.
Maybe it's because I'm such an Eddie guy.
Yeah, who's not an Eddie guy? I'm such a supporter of everyone on this game night crew. Shukri as well. Can't forget Shukri.
I don't think we'll convert you to be a Bruins guy, but Shukri and I. But damned if we won't try.
Absolutely not.
That is
over my dead body.
That is the night that was in the NHL. So guys on YouTube, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can find us here. And then of course, wherever you find your podcast as well. So ring that notification bell to get notified every time we're dropping a video. I'll give you a hint. It's 7 days a week. We're breaking down all the scores and the storylines from the night in the NHL. We want to thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network a part of your daily routine. And remember, every night we are here. You'll hear from the local experts. You'll hear from guys like us. For Cam Stuart and Tyler Feldman, this has been, and it will be tomorrow and the next day, Locked On NHL Game Night.